Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby along with Jeff Gerard on your place for news, talk, and information. This is your hometown station. Okay, folks, we're talking about your family's finances. Of course, getting out of debt, managing money, planning for your future. What is that all about when it comes to retirement and 401ks? And especially when we're talking about something called an in-service distribution, withdrawing your 401k. What are some of the tips and tricks that, believe it or not, we're seeing that a lot of the companies that handle your retirement account at work, I don't know if they're, look, I'm not going to say they're lying to you, because I don't think that's the case, but sometimes by omission or by, what's another word, where you complicate things or you bury it in the small fine print, and then you say, well, we told you, look on page 72, second paragraph from the left, right? We told you about it.
Right.
And most people are not super familiar with the way those retirement accounts work. So what is the trend that I'm starting to see? Well, Jeff, consistently we're beginning to see people say, well, I didn't know I could take my retirement account with me when I left. I didn't know that that's part of the options that I have. So we're going to get into that a little bit. How does that break down? And then I also want you to know about some of the choices. Like, just because your retirement account is currently in the stock market, mutual funds and stocks, bonds, maybe that kind of thing, do you have an option or a choice to do something different? And that's important to know.
I think that's those are all some key points there, because part of what happens is people go throughout life working and they make some money and they throw a little bit off to the side, and they're, you call it a 403b if you're a teacher, a 401k if if you're working as a plumber, you might have a SEP IRA. You have all these different types of classifications of dollars, and what do they all mean? Well, it just basically means where do you work? What type of organization do you work for? How do you get your dollars? And that will basically, for the most part, dictate the type of account that you put it in. But for all intents and purposes, you're putting money off to the side, hopefully to not pay tax on it and use it for the future. But we get down this path of just continuing to do it. And what's our real strategy? To just save a whole bunch of money? Well, that's nice, but what about some of the options that exist out there? And I think when we get stuck on kind of those railroad tracks, if you will, of just saving money and not looking at some of our outside options, we get kind of painted into a corner. And sometimes that can cost us a lot of money.
Yes. And think of it this way. When you're trying to save and plan for the future, your retirement account at work can be made up of a couple of different things. Some of it is your contributions. In other words, usually you'll put in money. And some of it is the employer match, meaning you're going to put in money, and those dollars that go into the account come directly from your paycheck. So, for example, if you earn $5,000 this month and you put in $500, right? You're now paying taxes this year on this month, $4,500. So you get a bit of a discount today. On the taxes, that's set off to the side. So that means when you retire, where you retire, the dollars that you put in are going to be taxed at whatever tax bracket and state that you live in. If you don't live in California, right? Every time we turn around, there's another tax in California. It's odd to me, folks, that you guys continue to vote these people in office. I think because you're so busy, and forgive the insult for a minute, but you're so busy with the housewives of wherever and the Kardashians, and your own life, your own soccer practice, kids recital, all that stuff, that you forget the fact that gas is pretty much the highest in the country. I just came back from another state, and it was $1 less per gallon. $1 less per gallon. Why do you think? Those folks live wonderful lives. They have a wonderful home. The people there drive amazing cars, right? There's the same or better cars that we have here. There's no difference. They have a great lifestyle. You might say, oh, but they don't make as much. They keep more. Do you see the difference? I don't care if you make $200,000 a year. If you only keep $80,000, it's better if you make $85,000 a year, because you still keep more. Because, oh, but that guy makes $200 and I make $85. Yeah, but you keep all $85, or you keep most of it. That's a huge difference when you're dealing with trying to plan for your retirement. And remember that if part of your retirement means that you're going to live in a place where there isn't income tax on your retirement accounts, and even more importantly than that, you are not paying tax, the type of tax on all the other goods and services. Now you might say, oh, but Arif, there are sales taxes in those states. Yes, there are. But do you understand the trickle-down effect? So if you buy a gallon of milk, the dairy workers had to buy the feed to to feed those cows. The people that delivered it did so in a truck. And they had to pay gasoline tax above and beyond the normal in this country just to deliver the feed. So the feed has to be higher cost. And then when that feed's at a higher cost, when they come and they pick up the cows to go turn them into hamburgers, they have to pay extra for the worker because he or she had to pay. Do you get it? And it keeps going on, and your groceries at the grocery store, and everybody has to pay. So the gasoline tax is not added at, it's only 40 cents. That's hogwash. And if a politician is telling you that, they are either ignorant or flat out dishonest. Yes, they are lying. It is not 40 cents. It is 40 cents times every single person that had to deliver the product or service or had to do the work. The restaurant has to pay these people who have to pay those people who have to pay, and now you're going to pay more for your meal. Well, Arif, it's inflation. That's baloney because the government's saying inflation is 2%. Now, I don't believe that, but you can't have it both ways, government. You can't tell me that, in fact, it's only 40 cents and, but the wages are increasing because of inflation. It's not true. So your retirement has to be focused on you. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish you could be more altruistic and influential in the lives of nonprofits. And certainly there's a place for that. But Sacramento is not going to fix the pension crisis. It will not. It is not. It has to implode. Mark my words. I hate that I'm going to be right on this. There is no option. It's almost like a sucker's bet, as they say. It's a guaranteed.
Right.
It's 100%. It's the way it goes. They will absolutely have to default eventually, or they're going to have to start over. There is no money for the pension systems. We're at $150, $200 billion underfunded. They have promised and continue to give pay raises to government workers and those with pensions that do not equate to the private sector. Look, do I think teachers and policemen and firemen are good people and work hard and have? Yes. What does that have to do with 1 + 1 being 2?
The money has to come from somewhere. And we're already seeing evidence of what you're talking about, Arif. We've already had a small city or town, if you will, in the middle of Central California, where its industry started to implode, and there were some issues there. They didn't have a whole lot of revenue coming in, and they had to default on 4 pensioners. And you think, okay, well, that's only those people. But if it can happen on that scale, you just extrapolate a little bit. Do you think that maybe when something happens down the road and more people start leaving California as part of their retirement strategy to get a pay increase, right? You don't think that's going to start happening more and more in maybe a little bit of a bigger town or more small towns, and then a bigger tidal wave starts coming, and this current is that there is no money. Well, there's money, but we'll borrow whatever the deficit is. Really? Okay. Well, that's fine. We'll just tax more. And that's just going to drive more and more people out of the state. So it's a vicious cycle. What does this all mean for you? It means don't depend so heavily on most of your income for retirement when you stop working to come from a big entity like that. Because you can say, it's going to be the other guy. It's going to be the other gal. They're going to reduce their pensions, not mine. And ask the 4 people that took a 60% pay cut in their retirement lifestyle because they had no other money saved up. There was an interview, a video taped interview of someone saying, I have no other options, because she didn't save. She was one of the 4 folks that decided to actually go public with it and be interviewed. So what does all this mean? All those old retirement accounts that you've saved money in, and you left that job and you left it behind, your money's out there. And if it's out there, I would make sure that you have at least tabs on what it's doing. Is it costing you fees? Is it going down? Is it just not going up? And you can't figure out why? I don't know. Maybe it's time to start taking a look at and bringing some of those accounts back into the field of vision and saying, what is the purpose of each one of those accounts? What's the purpose of the dollars that I've set aside and I didn't spend last month or take a vacation with or buy a new car with? I put those off to the side for the future. What do those really mean to me? I think they're super important, and you should start taking those into heavier consideration when you're looking at your overall retirement strategy, and have a retirement strategy, not just, hey, I'm going to save money and hopefully stop working one day.
And I think you're going to see time and again that people do not understand the way this impacts you, because again, tomorrow you wake up, you go to your work, your job, you got to do things, you got to pick up the kids. Oh, let's go. What are you going to do for dinner? Oh my gosh, this vacation this summer. What are we going to plan? And you don't realize that the system is changing underneath your feet. And if you are expecting a pension in the state of California, CalSTRS, CalPERS, there's only one or two that I think are, maybe three, that are not going to be affected the way that everything else will be affected. And that is simply this. If you are expecting one, and look, if you have just retired and you're in your 50s, chances are it will affect you. But if you're in your 60s, most likely it will not. So think about it this way. If you are below your 50s, 55, 60 or younger, chances are you will probably be impacted, right? The younger you are, for sure it will change. Here's how I think it will make a difference. They're going to raise taxes, they're going to reduce benefits, and they're going to increase the age in which you are prepared to take this money, and I think they're going to have to inflate the currency. That's the only way it can work. Now, depending on what political powers and political parties in power, it will be a little bit more of one or a little bit more of the other. Whenever you are not in power, like the Republicans in the state or the Democrats in the federal, your job is to throw rocks and yell and scream, but to do anything, to govern, it's very difficult, especially when there's a majority in the other direction and you're just kind of window dressing. And I don't mean that for my Republican friends in the state of California, but when was the last time that we can say that that this type of craziness, financially speaking, has been derailed by the opposition party in the state? I don't know. I'm not saying that they're not trying hard. That's great. Try hard. You can scream in the middle of a thunderstorm. Doesn't mean anybody's going to hear you. But hey, you screamed. You have to make a difference where you're stopping things like this. And I'm talking directly to our elected officials from this city and from our surrounding area. Guys, we need to see that there's something we can do. Now you might say, oh, Arif, what are you doing? Listen, we can do what we can do. That's why I'm here. This is, we're spending our time and money so that you can have an awareness of what's going on. And I think there has to be some sort of a public relations campaign that the Republican Party, the conservative folks in this state engage in, and to say, listen, the people that are being hurt the most, you realize it's not the guy who owns 16 rental properties and has 5 sources of income in retirement. That guy's going to be fine.
He figured it out.
Yeah, he's fine. Oh, you're going to cut my pension from $4,000 a month down to $3,000 a month. Oh, it doesn't hurt me because he makes $35,000 a month. So what? It's the person who says, this is my life savings, and I didn't put money in my retirement accounts because I was putting my kids in college. I didn't put money in my retirement accounts because I am a single mom. I didn't put it, right? The middle and the lower income ones. The liberal principles, the progressive principles, and look, I used to be one, so I'm telling you from this point of view, you have a good heart, that's all wonderful, but the principles will hurt the middle class. They already have, and they will continue, because you cannot put a dollar figure on goodwill. That's right. You're a wonderful person. I get it. You want to help. And you're hurting them. Oh, yeah, but Arif, but you don't understand. Well, listen, that's all wonderful, but you're hurting people. When you hurt people, financially speaking, they don't get to retire in the same city that they grew up in. Right? Who do you think that gets to retire in California? It's the movie stars who are doing a couple of things. Number one, they have residence in Florida. Do you know that? You name the movie star, the Brad Pitts, the Tom Cruise, the screaming liberals from the local award show. Those people are not residents in the state of California. Their residence is in another place. Now, they have a home here, but it's their vacation home in Beverly Hills. All it takes is for them to go through one cycle. Now, oh, Arif, you said all. Look, really? Let's grow up and get out of 3rd grade. A majority of these people who scream and yell want you to pay more taxes, and they leave the state. They have a residence in Tennessee or Texas or Florida where they do not pay income tax, state income tax. Right? I mean, you have to ask yourself. It's the same people like the Leo DiCaprio who runs around and says, all you people need to stop spending money, and then he flies around in a private jet with a carbon footprint of 27 747 jets. Oh, but I'm going to fly to these places. I'm going to hold my hand to my chin and just be dismayed and disgusted about global warming. And can I have my Evian on ice, please? Right? I get that they have a good heart sometimes, but you have to stand up and say, stop being full of hypocrisy. Or Al Gore, who has his electric bill, is for his mansion, literally in Tennessee, his mansion, his electric bill is larger than the closest city, the entire city's electric bill. Do you understand that? It's like 27,000 square foot residence. And then he's talking about global warming and carbon footprint. Look, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I know that some say yes, some say no. All I'm saying is be consistent and choose your heroes carefully. Because all of those people want to yell and scream about things, and meanwhile, you have to go to work in the morning, your kids have to get to soccer practice, and you have to try to figure out a way to retire. Ask them, what are you doing for the things that matter to me? My property taxes, my income tax, my sales tax. Look at, you just finished your taxes. Look how much you made and what you had to pay to the state. And then take a look at how much you made and look at what you had to pay for your car registration. Look at how much you made and how much you had to pay for your property tax and the gasoline tax. Just those 4 or 5 things.
Incredible.
And you can see what percentage of the income that you earn goes away. Now, why am I beating this up? I do it every once in a while, but why? Because I think part of this is we get busy. We start screaming and yelling and following only the news that matters to us, right? So we get reinforced our viewpoints. And then you don't understand why the other side thinks that they have a valid point, whether they do or not. They think they do, and so let's listen for a minute. And then you scream and yell and wonder why somebody is wearing a dress of like this, or they. Let's talk about substance. There's real problems in the world. 22 people are dead today that weren't dead yesterday this time. All because a guy blew himself up in Manchester, England, at this, subversive concert called Ariana Grande. You guys understand, this is a young lady who sings and performs, and they're usually, the people that attend are usually younger ladies and younger girls. So who is this coward blowing up? And when I say coward, I'm trying to be nice because it's radio. So protect yourself and your family. Learn about what matters. Build yourself a protection so that you're not dealing with the craziness, because part of this is how you end up protecting you and your family. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you can go on to Facebook Live, Total Financial Solutions, because we're going to be broadcasting our next segment, 401k in-service rollovers. What are your options when you leave your company to protect you and your family so that you can build for your retirement some choices and some true diversification? When we come back. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Gerard on your place for News Talk and Information, your hometown station.